Hello everybody, it is Calxiyn here. If you guys enjoy this video, you guys should subscribe. Make sure to ring that notification bell and yeah, join our Discord server, all that stuff. So as you guys can see, my hair is wet, so I just got out of the shower. That's where we're filming today. So if you guys watched my last video, I was filming in my aunt's kitchen. But now that I'm at RTX, I was like, okay, well, where do I go? And, you know, the bathroom has a very nice, like, ring light around it and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, like, this'll do. This will be fine. So yeah, that's why we're here. I just wanted to film this because Hunter and I were supposed to do it, when were we supposed to do it? Before I left. We were supposed to do it on the Monday before I left, but we didn't. We just didn't have time, so I was like, you know what? I'll just do another video where I'm just standing up in the bathroom, like you do, and talk about some character short predictions, right? We did this last year. Like, there's not that much to predict anymore with RTX literally coming around the corner other than panel announcements, and so I'll get, like, smaller predictions out of the way. I think that they may announce the next book, that there's going to be another book at the RWBY After the Fall panel. If there is a next book, that would be the place to announce it, is during that panel. If I had to guess which characters it could be on, I guess Team Sun is a very good choice, and based on the events in that book, not to spoil it obviously, but Team Sun just makes sense. If you guys have read the book, you'll understand what I mean. If you guys haven't, we did do like a review on it, so I would suggest, you know, watching that and all that stuff. As for, I guess, like, other announcements, I don't know, like, RWBY makes a lot of, like, games, I guess, now. Like, there's Grim Eclipse, and there's the deck building game, and there's Amity Arena, and now there's Crystal Quest. So if I had to guess, just, like, more games coming down the pipeline, either more information about games that we already have, or, like, information about brand new games. There was a rumor a while ago, and I covered this, about BlazBlue. Like, about these BlazBlue characters, like new RWBY BlazBlue characters, but it never really came to fruition, right? And there were, like, new announcements for other characters too, just not just from the RWBY universe, from, like, Persona, and from this, and from that, and, like, it doesn't seem like that has happened yet, and it didn't happen at the event that people thought it was gonna happen at. Like, people thought it was gonna happen at this BlazBlue gaming, I don't know, is it called EVE? Like, just something, I don't remember anymore. But yeah, people thought that it would be announced there, but it wasn't. And so if the RWBY characters are in BlazBlue, I would guess at the RWBY panel. Now, for the actual character short, I've thought a lot about this. Hunter did not get, you know, to sort of discuss with me that much, but I would say, like, this little thing of mouthwash fell over. That's gonna be something that I have to deal with after the video's done. Anyways, what was I saying again? Right, so other, like, options for the character short. You know, the last couple ones have been sort of strange because they're trying not to do character shorts anymore, right? They sort of discussed that last time they had one, like, for Yang, Weiss, and Blake, and that was just too much. And so, you know, seeing the Adam one, it makes sense to see all that Adam stuff because it leads up to what is happening in the volume. So if sort of past history, you know, repeats itself, I would say that the most probable character to get a short on would be Ironwood, and I think that a really good idea, and I get chills when I think about this, so sorry if I, like, I think a really good idea would be Ironwood and how his body got torn apart by Salem and whoever, because then we could see sort of Ironwood's backstory and maybe even a villain, right, like a villain character, because obviously, like, I'm assuming either a villain or a Grimm did that, right? And all that stuff. So I think Ironwood and, like, how he got his body ripped apart and him fighting, and maybe him fighting a new villain that we haven't seen, because people make this thing all the time. They're like, there's 2 empty chairs in Salem's room, and, like, there may be other villains we don't know about, but it could have also been a villain that we do know about, right? And so that would be good to showcase, you know, a villain, whoever that villain may be, or just to showcase, you know, what Salem, like, fucking did to him, right, and all that stuff. And then it would also showcase Ironwood, because a lot of people think Ironwood's going to be a major hurdle because he has been getting paranoid about things and all that stuff. I think, like, that's my strongest argument. Like, that's my strongest feeling, is that I really, 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 really hope that it's Ironwood. In terms of other options, I think, like, last year we predicted that it would be a villain, and so we mentioned that Cindo, Oh man, I miss Hunter so much because he's the one who started that. Cinder and Adam, you know, we predicted a bunch of like character shorts that would make sense, and obviously the Adam one happened. I think a villain one would be okay, especially like it would be cool if there was a villain one tied in with the RWBY After the Fall villains. I don't know if they'll do that, but I think that that would be cool. So that's another option, would be another villain trailer. For who though, Watts makes the most sense, just because he has been disgraced in Atlas, and so, you know, in terms of relevancy, that makes sense to me, or a new villain. You know what I mean? Again, to tie in the plot of RWBY After the Fall, but they also don't want to spoil RWBY After the Fall, right? And so that's where I'm kind of like, like that's one of my weaker ones. So like Ironwood's up here. The After the Fall characters are somewhere in the middle. I think another good one would be Winter, just based on popular demand, right? For like, I've seen a lot of people talk about wanting a Winter character short, especially if she has this sort of like moral dilemma. Like a lot of people think that she's going to have this dilemma of following Ironwood, who, you know, sort of like took her into the military and gave her this escape from her family and all that stuff, or like, you know, that sort of struggle between like following Weiss and like listening to her about, you know, the real threat that Salem is, and like the Atlas stuff and all that. You know, so I think that would be sort of interesting, because I feel like we're definitely going to see something like that in Winter, so I feel like that would be good, to sort of see that sort of like struggle that she's going to have. Like, does she follow Ironwood, and he's sort of been like, you know, she's basically his right-hand, you know, woman, and so it's sort of like, does she still follow? Oh, no. I caught it. It's okay, guys. We got it. You know, does she sort of follow him, or does she not? Like, all that sort of struggle. So I think that would be good, especially because, like, everybody thought that Winter was going to be the one running the base, and then it was Cordelvin, and we were just like, why, world? Why would you do that to us? So that was... That was pretty sad. I think we're sort of crooked now. I don't want it to fall, but it's okay. I think that it's fine like this. So yeah, I think Winter is also a good option. Again, Watts, just another villain. But I'm really feeling the Ironwood. That's not an innuendo, kids. Don't go around saying that. Anyways, other than that, I think that the only other possibility people are sort of discussing right now is like a whole new character, or, you know, Crow, just because Crow did get the new voice actor, and a lot of people thought that was how they were going to announce it, was by doing a Crow character short. But I don't know how much Crow and his sort of backstory, like what happened to Summer, has relevance in Atlas, right? So I'm trying to think of things that are focused on Atlas, because when you think about sort of the Adam character short, it was directly connected, and so it's like, okay, who's next? My other really, really high possibility, but I'm sort of debating on this, and so to sort of go in order, I put Ironwood here, like at the very top. I would put Winter here, you know, a new villain sort of on the same, or a new character or villain or whatever, sort of on the same level as Winter. I'd put Watts a little higher than Winter, and then put After the Fall at the very bottom. My sort of second most predicted one would be something to do with Neo and Roman, but here's my argument for this, is that Neo just got a new song, and so I doubt that they'd, you know, make a Neo character short to show how, like, and then make another song. You understand what I mean? Because then Neo would have two songs, and some characters don't even have one song to themselves, and so I'm not entirely sure about that. I think it would make sense because, you know, Neo is traveling with Cinder and all that, and like in the RWBY director's commentaries, they even talked about how Neo wasn't originally supposed to be in Volume 6, and so she was supposed to be in Volume 7, and maybe stuff could have been revealed about her in Volume 7. And all that stuff, because a lot of people thought that she just, like, since she was in the Atlas uniform, she, like, disguised herself and snuck into Atlas. I think that would have been interesting if they decided to do that plot. But yeah, so that's the only reason why I'm iffy on that. Like, I sort of feel it, like, I feel Ironwood the most, but I feel like Neo and Roman would be sort of interesting, and then you'd see Roman and the new engine and stuff. Or I guess I shouldn't call it an engine, it's not a video game, you guys understand what I mean. I think that would be a good one. And so that's basically all my personal ideas. So again, to sort of rank, I guess, Ironwood, like, at the top. You know, like, I guess Neo, Roman, Winter, and Watts are all sort of on the same level, with Watts being a little higher. Like, that would be my second highest prediction. You know, if it's a new character, there's no possible, you know, that's a cop-out for me to be like, oh, well, it'll be a new character, guys, because the chances of that are a lot easier, you know what I mean, to happen. And so I feel like that's a little... You know, if I'm like, oh, guys, I was right, it was a new character, it's like, no, Cal. Like, you said Ironwood, and then you put new character, like, you just threw that in there, right? And so I'm really hoping that it is Ironwood. I am considering still Crow. I just don't know how that would fit into the narrative of Volume 7, but we don't know what that narrative's even gonna be, right? And so it's hard to sort of say, but yeah, I think the most sense would be Ironwood, Watts, maybe even Jacques, like how Jacques was, like if he's, you know, if they're going to take down the Sneaky Dust Company, like a lot of people are hoping, like even a Jacques sort of backstory and to sort of see how he was before, because like it would be very interesting if like, you know, he said, like Jacques tells, you know, his wife, like, oh, I only married you for her money, but was Jacques always like that, or like what happened to sort of, you know, make him that way? It's sort of interesting, because this is so off topic. I've been listening to Hadestown, which is a new musical, and you sort of see this relationship between Hades and Persephone, where he is just sort of all about, in the musical, it's sort of hard to explain, but like hell is basically this whole industrial thing where they're building this like giant wall, and like they're building all these like power grids, you know what I mean, and all that stuff. And like obviously Persephone is the goddess of, you know, spring, and so she's just like, this isn't natural, this isn't right, what you're doing isn't like good for the world and all that sort of stuff. And so I sort of think of that, and that's sort of how that would be a better way to sort of imagine, like, you know, Hades and Persephone, like it would sort of be like Jacques and, I mean, in the context of the musical, not the actual Greek characters, because it's sort of like, you know, Hades like was a man once, he was a man in love once, a sort of thing. Like that's the point that the musical makes, and he sort of gotten wrapped up in, you know, making all this money and sort of protecting, you know, this. It's sort of just, I feel like Hadestown is this physical manifestation for being afraid to lose Persephone, and so he's building this like giant wall, and like to get there you have to take the train, like it's just like making it harder and harder for her to leave, you know what I mean? And so I feel like that would sort of be interesting, but I feel like that they already established that no, he never loved her. Like that was just sort of it, but it would be really interesting if he did once. And, you know, the sort of social, toxic, you know, upper class, like, mentality just, you know, sort of embedded itself into him. And yeah, and so in the musical, Persephone is also a little bit of a, it's weird, because I wouldn't say she's a drunk, but, you know, they make an allusion to, like, moonshine, but they mean the actual moon, because she's bringing all these elements from, like, the overworld to show the people, you know, in the underworld and all that stuff. It's really hard to explain, but just sort of that relationship where she's just, like, sort of done in Hades is like, well, if you don't want to, like, stay in this gilded cage, I'll find someone else, and so that's what he like, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's sort of Jacques' mentality too, is that she is in this gilded cage, she's in this giant mansion, but she can't leave, so that would be interesting. But yeah, I don't really want them to give Jacques a sympathy backstory, though. It would just sort of be like, you know, if his parents push him to sort of, you know, try to advance in society since he was a child, because obviously Atlas is literally, like, right over Mantle. Like, Atlas is, like, up here, and then all the poor people are down here, and I'm sure there's more poor people than just Faunus, so that would be interesting if Jacques, like, started out poor, you know, his parents tried to push him to, like, continue in society, and like maybe at one time he was like, oh, you know, that Schnee girl, she's kind of like, she's cute and intelligent, and his parents were like, no, and so that toxic mindset just, and so yeah, that's basically it. I think those are all my ideas. I'm really hoping for Ironwood and seeing his body get like, and seeing how all that happened, but yeah, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys later. Bye.